everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the wonderfully weird and whimsical world of a true literary legend. When you hear the name Dr. Seuss, what comes to mind? Probably a cat in a hat, green eggs and ham, or maybe a grumpy Grinch. But who was the man behind these unforgettable characters? Let's find out. Dr. Seuss wasn't his real name. He was Theodor Seuss Geisel, a man who didn't just write children's books. He completely revolutionized what it meant for a child to read. Imagine a world where children's literature was mostly, well, boring. The books were often stiff, overly polite, and about as exciting as watching paint dry. They were meant to teach lessons in a very straightforward, no-nonsense way. Then, along came Ted Geisel. He looked at the alphabet, at simple words and sentences, and saw a playground. He was a dreamer who refused to accept that A is for apple was the most exciting thing a book could offer. While other authors were carefully placing words in neat little rows, Dr. Seuss was letting them dance, rhyming them in ways no one thought possible, and inventing entirely new creatures to say them. His words didn't just sit on the page. They bounced, they zigzagged, and they practically sang out loud. He believed that a book shouldn't be a quiet object on a shelf. It should be an invitation, a ticket to an adventure that leaps off the page and tickles your imagination. Think about it. He burst onto the scene like a vibrant, chaotic carnival arriving in a quiet, gray town. His first major children's book, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, was rejected over 20 times. Publishers just didn't know what to make of it. It was too different, too strange, too fun. But Geisel persisted, and thank goodness he did. He knew that kids were hungry for stories that mirrored their own boundless energy and creativity. What made Dr. Seuss so special was his masterful blend of playfulness with purpose. His stories are silly, yes, but they're also incredibly smart. The Lorax is a powerful environmental message wrapped in a fluffy, colorful package. The Sneetches is a brilliant commentary on prejudice and conformity. He tackled big, important ideas, but he did it with such charm and wit that kids absorbed the lessons without even realizing they were being taught. He turned the chore of learning to read into a joyful journey of discovery. He showed generations of children that reading isn't a duty, it's a superpower. This approach was groundbreaking. He famously wrote The Cat in the Hat using only 236 different words, as a direct challenge to the dull Dick and Jane primers used in schools at the time. He proved that you could create a captivating, hilarious story with a limited vocabulary. He made reading accessible and exciting for early readers, giving them the confidence and the desire to keep turning the pages. He was a bridge between learning and pure, unadulterated joy. Through his ink, his rhymes, and his boundless whimsy, Theodor Seuss Geisel became more than just a writer. He became a cultural icon, a household name synonymous with childhood itself. He wasn't just a person, he was a movement. He was a breath of fresh, zany air that swept through the stuffy halls of children's literature and changed it forever. He taught us that the most profound lessons can be learned through laughter, and that the best way to shape a young mind is to first set it free. So, the next time you pick up one of his books, remember the revolutionary spirit behind those rhymes. You are holding a piece of history crafted by a man who dared to believe that imagination was the most powerful educational tool of all. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Have you ever wondered who the genius was behind The Cat in the Hat or how the Grinch stole Christmas? Well, let's pull back the curtain on the man who wasn't a doctor at all, but who prescribed a heavy dose of imagination to millions of children worldwide. Today, we're talking about Theodor Seuss Geisel, the one and only Dr. Seuss. Before Dr. Seuss came along, children's books were, well, a little boring. They were often filled with stiff, moral lessons and predictable stories. Think of them as black and white photos in a world just waiting for color. Then, in 1904, Theodor Geisel was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. Little did anyone know, this boy would grow up to splash the world of children's literature with the brightest, wildest colors imaginable. He wasn't just a writer, he was a revolutionary. He looked at the simple, straightforward sentences of early readers and thought, why can't words dance? Why can't they rhyme and twist and turn in ridiculous ways? He believed reading shouldn't feel like a chore. It should feel like a party, a circus, an adventure. He saw words not as rigid blocks, but as playful, bouncing balls. So, how did this transformation begin? His journey wasn't a straight line. Geisel started his career in advertising and drawing cartoons for magazines. His unique style, full of quirky creatures and whimsical landscapes, was already taking shape, but the real turning point came from a challenge. In the 1950s, there was a growing concern that children weren't learning to read because the books available to them were so uninspiring. An article in Life magazine famously asked why kids, who loved comics and TV, found their school readers so dull. A publisher, seizing the opportunity, challenged Geisel to write a book that first graders couldn't put down, using a list of just 225 basic words. The result? The Cat in the Hat. This book was a lightning bolt. It was funny, it was rebellious, and it was ridiculously fun to read. Suddenly, the very act of sounding out words became a game. The cat, with his red and white striped hat, didn't just walk into a house. He burst into the world of education and turned it upside down. From that point on, Dr. Seuss became a household name. He wasn't just writing stories. He was building worlds. He gave us Whoville, the jungle of Newell, and the street of the lifted Lorax. His characters weren't just simple figures. They were unforgettable personalities. The grumpy Grinch who discovers the true meaning of Christmas, Horton the faithful elephant who believes that a person's a person, no matter how small, and the Lorax, who spoke for the trees long before environmentalism was a mainstream topic. What made his work so magical was the seamless blend of playfulness and purpose. Yes, his stories were filled with zany rhymes and nonsensical words like zizzer zazzer zoos, but beneath the surface, there were powerful messages. The Sneetches was a brilliant commentary on prejudice and conformity. The Butter Battle book explored the absurdity of the arms race. He trusted children to understand big ideas, and he delivered those ideas wrapped in the most entertaining package possible. He showed us that learning and joy could go hand in hand. He proved that you could teach phonics with a fox in socks and discuss ethics with a green eggs and ham-loving character. His books didn't just sit on a shelf. They jumped off, they laughed, they invited you into their world. They taught children that reading was not about following rules, but about unlocking imagination. Dr. Seuss published over 60 books in his lifetime, selling hundreds of millions of copies and becoming a cultural cornerstone. His influence is everywhere from classrooms to Hollywood movies. He didn't just write books. He changed the very landscape of childhood. He took reading, which for some was a dreaded task, and turned it into a discovery, a joy, a fundamental part of growing up. He was a man who saw the world not as it was, but as it could be a little sillier, a little kinder, and a lot more creative. He refused to let sentences be boring. He made them sing and dance and wobble. He was a dreamer who invited us all to dream along with him. Through his art and his words, Theodor Seuss Geisel did more than tell stories. He gave generations of readers the key to their own imaginations. He wasn't just a writer, he was a movement, a breath of fresh air, and a bridge between the duty of learning and the pure delight of play. He truly was the doctor of rhyme and reason. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the whimsical world of Dr. Seuss. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of incredible creators. See you in the next video.